We know what we need, as Native people. We know what we need in our own families. If we wait around for somebody to come and try to help us, it's not going to get done. But we can do it from within ourselves, and that's God Doogie. It's about us coming together exactly like we are tonight, and supporting each other, loving each other, figuring out what's going on, and just daggone get it done. Figure out a way to get it done. Get her done.
God Doogie. God Doogie.
Yes.
I love it. One of the comments that you had mentioned earlier was that this was a community that you embraced when you were out shooting this film.
Yes.
That these were communities of real people. There were a lot of the original laborers that were in the actually went out and did the labor work to get the pipe and walk the 18 miles of pipe out in Bell. They were actually in this movie, and I wanted to hear your perception about their view of their leader, of Wilma.
Well, two things, and one brings it back home, is that the reason that happened was because of Michelle Shining Elk. The reason I'm in the film is because of Michelle Shining Elk. And they had cast a Mohawk girl, to play Wilma. And at the last minute, she's a beautiful girl, she's a fantastic actor, she would have done a great job, but at the last minute the director woke up and in the middle of the night, on like a Saturday night, and said, I can't cast this girl. And they're like, come on, we were shooting in like a month, we have to cast it. And he's like, I don't know, I just don't feel good about it. And so he's like, is there anybody else? And she said, well, you need to look at Kimberly Norris-Guerrero. And he's like, okay, and I had something on YouTube, and they looked at it, and then they asked me to audition. So it was Michelle Shining Elk that brought me on, and then she said, we need to go out to the community where this happened, because, it will have, and I mean, they listened, and it was just so neat, because we went out there, I went out with Michelle to the community, and we interviewed all of the, anybody that wanted to be in the film could be in the film. And so we heard story after story, which was important for me playing Wilma, of people that had been down there digging the water line and what it was like to dig through 17 miles of solid rock. It was, that dirt that we were digging through was nothing like the real ground out in Adair County. The engineers were saying they couldn't do it, that it was impossible. And those boys, those Oak Ridge boys, not the band, but the Cherokee guys that were out in the woods, which is true, still happens to this day out there. But those guys, they said that there was no way possible to dig through that particular part, that it would take something like 18 days of like nonstop, all these those guys did it by hand with picks. These are 6'6" big old full-blood Cherokee guys, and so their thing was like, we're not just gonna beat the deadline, we're going to do it with hours, with days to spare. And so they didn't even sleep, they just like stayed on the clock all so when they came around, it's literally better than anything we could have put in the movie. Everything you can imagine was even better and cooler and crazier,
This movie wasn't only about community activism, addressing social injustices or racial injustices, group injustices. We actually saw a love story here. There was a true love story, and it wasn't only this long courtship between Charlie and Wilma, but it was also a relationship, a love between her and her community.
Absolutely.
One of the things that she did that I thought also that was very interesting, and this is something that I believe many women, that especially women who have careers and work in their communities, that they have their personal struggles, and I think Wilma had a tougher one because she was single. And yet so being a parent, trying to work in your community, advocate for those that are less fortunate than you, even though you're struggling financially, you're struggling in familia, struggling with all kinds of issues. There were a number of very intimate moments that she was struggling with herself as a parent, with her responsibility. What do you know about that as
Well, Gina, her youngest daughter, was my biggest ally in this, and because Gina is so much like her mom, and so she gave me all of the skinny, and it was unbelievably difficult for any public figure like that, and they didn't really understand it or appreciate it until later. And both of the girls work for the Nation, And they're both incredible women that are doing amazing things and very much carrying on their mom's legacy. But at the time, it was a living HE double hockey sticks for the three of them. Because that's all they had. Because all of their people were still in California. Those little girls grew up in Cali, you know, in San Fran, and, you know, on the reservation out there, they had a very, very rich life. So it was unbelievably difficult to move back to it. Because Mankiller Flats is not that far from Bell. It's out there in the sticks. And so the girls literally, you know, they didn't do country. You know, I mean, these girls were city girls, you know, and so it was a really, really big adjustment for them.
With that, even with those adjustments, I mean, when we look at Womack, and she actually participated every day and was getting down the mud with these folks, her evolution of success, or at least trust and leadership in the community, went from working directly at grassroots to a more regional, I mean, you know, statewide, regional, and then national, and then global role. So she was traveling all over. I met her in 1989, I believe, at the National Indian Education Convention, and she was speaking, and I believe her husband was there, because I showed that picture of him. I mean, I was like, those two, I remember them together.
They're together all the time.
Yeah.
Jeanette knows, Jeanette's over here.
And so, you know, just wondering about, there were a lot of controversies. She wasn't always Miss Popular.
Yeah.
It ended up
Still is not. Oh, I'll tell a story. When I first got back to Tahlequah, I had read her, much like Mourning Dove. I had read Mourning Dove's work, but years ago, so it was neat, you know, coming back to Mourning Dove's work before this. And I had read her biographies years ago. But it was my first day back in Tahlequah, and I was at this coffee house, and I had the book open like this, and I was reading. And I mean, I had been there 45 minutes, and I was reading, I was waiting to meet someone. And this man came in, and he goes, "Oh, the witch." And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Wilma the witch." And I said, I see you have a problem with Miss Mankiller. And he started going on about all of his grievances and how she was a horrible person and how she was a horrible leader and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, "And you know, they're doing a film about her." And I said, "Yes, I know that." I said, "That's exactly why I'm here from California." And he goes, "Really? What are you doing? Playing the witch?" So that was like, welcome to Wilma. I mean, it was like the perfect thing that could have happened, like when I landed in Tahlequah. So I got it from the get-go that not everybody's a fan to this day, you know?
I appreciate you sharing. I mean, this has been wonderful for you to be here, especially honoring this wonderful movie. But the Mourning Dove Symposium, just coming up, recognizing that we have these beautiful authors, these beautiful stories, beautiful artists that are expressing these stories through brothers' poems and movies, songs. It's been wonderful. One thing I think that's really important is this whole interpretation of the story. You mentioned a few minutes ago about the original text and scripts, and then how it's edited out. See, we talked earlier about that, I think, in the symposium, about how some people take stories and they interpret it and they'll change the text. Right? So, in my opinion, a lot of we're looking at authenticity. Anybody who reads the books understands that and sees a movie, it's going to be different, correct? But it doesn't take away from the story.
Absolutely not.
It does not take away from especially from Moma's story. You have a lot of young people here tonight, and people my age, a little bit older. But there's a lot of young people here who look at you as a beautiful actress in the movies. You have confidence to get up here and sit on stage and be in the movies and talk with people and work with all these professionals. How did you get started? And could you give them a little bit of advice about your career and benefits of this?
Well, I'm a ham, if you haven't noticed, so it's not real difficult for me. I was just popped out that way. Uncle Sonny, huh? Yeah, so I mean, I think I come by it naturally. If anybody knew my grandpa, my Papa Pete George, if you ever went over the tribal, you know, I mean, we're jokesters and we like to, you know, tell stories. And so I think I do come by it naturally. But I grew up in community theater, and I love television, and I love television so much that I would sit and watch Gilligan's Island back to back to back, you know, and Bewitched and all these great, the Brady Bunch and all these great, you know, old shows, and to me it was like, I didn't understand until I was much older that, man, that's my story fire. Like, you know, we don't, Lori Arnold and I were talking about this, we don't sit in the lodge for 3 months like we used to and tell stories for 3 months during the winter, you know, and so I feel like something's missing in me. So even as a child, I think I was trying to look for that within film and television. And I grew up in a really rugged little town in Oklahoma, and we only had one theater, much like this, you know, and so I wasn't exposed to a lot of film, so television was what I had. And so I saw those kids on television, and I was like, well, I want to do that. I want to do that when I grow up. I want to be on television. And at the time, there was nobody on television that looked like me except Chico and the Man, you know? And it's like, well, I didn't care. I was like, you know, I can do it. And so I don't know what possessed me, but I got out the atlas, and I figured out where Hollywood was, and I saw that school UCLA was right by it. And I love football too, just like Wilma, and so I saw a UCLA, USC football game one time. This Barbie doll girl came out with her like UCLA pom-poms and stuff. I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do one day. And, you know, I'm 7, and I'm like, I'm gonna be her. I'm gonna be Barbie one day, you know? And it's so weird. And so it just lodged in my brain, and I was like, perfect, this is what I'm gonna do. And I got older, and I was not the brightest kid in school, but I found out that you had to be really smart to get to UCLA. So I just started taking all the extra credit I could in my high school, and so I ended up graduating valedictorian in my class. But I was not the smartest kid in school, and I just worked really hard because that's what I wanted to do. So I got into UCLA as a freshman, and I was deciding, do I go the smart route and go into this other degree where I know, you know, I can like make a living and things, or should I try out for the pom-pom squad? Which I was just you know, I was just like, oh, and I just always wanted to do it. I was like, okay, I either have to commit to this degree, because it's going to take like a full-time, or I'm going to try out for the pom-pom squad. And at the last minute, I mean, I literally was on Bruin Walk going one way, other way, one way, am I going to do this, am I going to not? And I decided to go and try out for the pom-pom squad. Because I had it, since I had it in my heart since I was a little girl. So I tried out, there were 625 girls that tried out for 7 spots. And back then, I really had an Oklahoma accent, and so when I got out there, I went out, and I mean, you guys, it was so rugged, I don't even know how to explain to you. Like, back then, like, the girls had, like, the cute little tennis shoes and, like, these little pom-poms and stuff, and I had the big old rugged pom-pom, the old big pom-poms, you know, and I had, like, knee-high socks and, like, saddle oxers. I didn't have tennis shoes, because you had to try out your high school uniform, so I had my mom send me my high school uniform. And I mean, they were laughing at me already because I was in like a cheerleading outfit from like 1962 or something, compared to the other girls. And then I got up and I'm like, hi, my name's Kim Norris, and you know, everybody just did not know what to make of me. But anyway, I made it on the squad, and I happened to be, I was the tallest girl in the squad, and so I was always in the middle of our formations. And this casting director, Reggie Miller, was on our basketball team. It was his senior year when I was on squad, and so we had a lot of people coming to our basketball games at the time. And this casting director came, and he's like, the girl in the middle and the girl in the end, I want to see you guys at an AT&T commercial audition. And so I went and I got the audition, and that's how I got my Screen Actors Guild card. I had no idea what that was. I'm like, do I even want this? And they're like, yes, you want that. You know, so I'm like, okay. And then I got paid $650 to go like do a commercial for like 3 hours, just like a cheerleading commercial thing. I don't know, it's ridiculous. And I'm like, I got paid $650 for this. And then the next week, no, it was like 2 weeks later, I get a check in the mail for $2,500. I had never seen that kind of money. And I called the lady up in Chicago, and I'm like, excuse me, there's been some mistake. It says AT&T